Champ now. Yes, I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, Champ?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, one time during my career, I bombed a bomber one tour.
I would have been a bomb compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cast Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Storian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass, because without her, none of this would be possible. Just Do Boxing. Ryan from the 6IX. Salute, Ryan. How are you today? Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cast Sports, the Box Storian. Today, impressive boxing achievements. Impressive boxing achievements. Today we're going to look at, how's the family today, first of all? That's Ryan from the 61X. Salute, Ryan. We're going to look at some different categories, like we're going to look at the most impressive knockout streaks in boxing history, the most impressive winning streaks. We're going to look at the 10 greatest boxers who were never knocked out in their careers, okay? And of course, we're going to have to look at George Chuvalo, who had the best chin of all time. Lamar Clark, 44 knockouts, the most consecutive knockout streak in history. Longest consecutive knockout streak in history. 44 in a row, okay? He wasn't fighting the best of the best, but he still got 44 professional fighters out of there in a row. Among other things, today on Cast Sports The Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. I was looking at the schedule just now. We got a pretty good schedule. Salute Just Do, appreciate you. Just Do coming up at 4 p.m. with that balanced, unbiased boxing talk. That's who I'm warming you up for. Everybody gets their Just Do it, Just Do boxing. January is not bad starting out. Of course, this weekend we got Matias, right? Subriel. Matias in there this weekend. And also Agent Carbayel in there this weekend. Matias and Dalton Smith. Carbayel is going up against Damian Nyba. I don't think Usyk's going to fight Carbayel. High risk, low reward. Why would Usyk do that? His legacy is pretty much set. So yeah, but Carbayel is in action this weekend, and then Friday we got Zerto in action next Friday. Not this Friday, next Friday, the 16th. And Zerto got a date with Benavidez coming up. What is it, like March? So Zerto taking a chance. He's fighting Robin Sirwan Safar. Suppose he lose that one. That'll mess up the Benavidez payday. So wow. Gotta give Zerto his props for that. Okay. Taking like a little tune-up. And then also Alexis Rocha is on that card. Then the following weekend on the 24th, we got Murray Tyler and Andy Cruz. That big fight. Israel Madrimov on that card. Omari Jones. And then that same day, Moses Itama is back in action against Jermaine Franklin. Willie Hutchinson on the card. So yeah, January. Liam Davis on that card. January ain't starting out too bad. Then, of course, the weekend after that, we got Shakur and Teofimo. Great card. Of course, Shakur and Teofimo is headlining. And then we got Keyshawn and Jermaine Ortiz as the co-main. We got Carlos Adames on the card. Title fight for Adames' WBC middleweight title. Shushu Carrington. The original Big Baby, Gerald Miller on there, so yeah. And then that same day, Xander Zayas in action, right? And also, that same day, we got Adam Azim in action with young English fighter. And I thought, Murtazaliad, Bakra, he's in action that day too. Josh Padley on that card. So we got a January. I think it's going to be a little bit better than last year started out. So yeah, pretty good start this month is. What's up, Thomas Hill? Thomas Hill in the building. I was just looking at that schedule for January, T. Hill. It ain't bad. You know, this weekend we got Subriel Matias and our guy. We was just talking about him yesterday. Carbayel in action this weekend. So yeah, not a bad start to the year. Nope. But yeah, today we're going to be looking at some different categories. Mike Rem in the building. What's up, Mike Rem? Salute. We're going to be looking at some different categories and some impressive boxing achievements today. Okay, we got two fights of the day. We're going to start right out with the good boxing achievements, right, with the fights of the day today. But yeah, we're going to have the 10 most impressive knockout streaks, 10 most impressive winning streaks. We got the guy with the longest knockout streak, 44 fights, Lamar Clark. Now, again, he wasn't fighting the best of the best. We're going to get into it, but he's knocked 44 pro fighters out of the road. And we're going to have the 10 greatest fighters that never got stopped in their careers. So then we're going to have to talk about George Chuvales, the greatest chin of all time. Okay. He was stopped, but never off his feet. I think Ali, Joe Frazier, they got him out of there, but it was TKOs. Yeah, never off his feet. But let's get into the fights of the day now. We got two of them today. And they are some impressive achievement, both of these fights of the day. That's what we're talking about today. Impressive achievements. But how's everybody this afternoon? Hope everybody's having a good day so far. Appreciate you stopping by. In this couple hours, warming you up for Just Do Boxing coming up at 4 p.m. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get into our fight of the day now. Without further ado, we got two fights of the day. Let's get into them. Okay. Now, today is about impressive achievements in the sport. And this fight right here was Muhammad Ali when he became the first man to win the heavyweight title on 3 different occasions, okay? This was Muhammad Ali versus Leon Spinks. It was February 15th, 1978. This was the fight where Ali became the first man to win the heavyweight title 3 different times. In this fight right here, that was a very impressive achievement. Pardon me for a moment, please. Then we're going to get into it. And then we got another one too. 2 fights of the day today. Okay, both are very impressive achievements in the sport of boxing. Again, this one was when Muhammad Ali won first man to become the 3-time win the heavyweight championship 3 different times. There we go. I couldn't find it, but I got it. Let's get into it. Muhammad Ali versus Leon Spinks. This took place on September the 15th, 1978. This was 2. Ali Spinks 2. Okay? So, approximately 13 years before Muhammad Ali ever stepped into a boxing ring with Leon Spinks, then Cassius Clay had overcome great odds by defeating Sonny Liston to become world heavyweight champion. Now, Ali went on to successfully defend that title 9 times against such legendary boxers as George Chuvalo, Cleveland Williams, and Floyd Patterson. However, Ali was stripped of the belt because of his refusal to report for induction into the U.S. military for the Vietnam War. A few years after his 1970 return to boxing, Ali silenced doubters once again by defeating heavy favorite George Foreman for the WBC and WBA heavyweight titles. On September 15th, 1978, Leon Spinks defended his heavyweight title against On February 15th, 1978, a young Leon Spinks became the first man to take the world heavyweight title from Ali in a boxing ring when he won a 15-round split decision against his childhood idol. At the time, Spinks had only fought in 7 professional fights, none of which had gone beyond 10 rounds. He was the first one to actually beat Ali in the ring for his title. Okay? Then, on September 15th, 1978, a few months later, same exact date, Leon Spinks defended his heavyweight title against Muhammad Ali in an immediate rematch. Promoted by Bob Arum, the Bob Father, it was dubbed the Battle of New Orleans, and it took place at the Superdome, where celebrities such as former First Lady Jackie Onassis, John Travolta, and Chris Christopherson joined a record-breaking indoor crowd of approximately 70,000 spectators to witness Muhammad Ali's last great stand. I want you to know, I'm real serious with this fight, Ali announced prior to the rematch. Put your money on me. I cannot get no better. Okay, Ali said, put your money on me. So on fight night, Spinks was no match for Ali. The senior pugilist showed the world everything he had learned in the many years fighting at the highest level. He displayed the skills and tricks he had accumulated through years of fighting. Fighters such as Joe Frazier, Ernie Shavers, George Foreman, Ken Norton, and Sonny Liston. Avenging his loss, Ali went on to win a convincing, uncontroversial, unanimous decision. Yeah, convincing. After the fight, Ali announced his retirement. However, he returned to the sport shortly after, only to suffer back-to-back losses to Larry Holmes and Trevor Burbick. During those final 2 fights, Ali was a shell of his former greatness. But the Battle of New Orleans will always be remembered as the last great stand of the world's greatest champion, Muhammad Ali. Okay? That's the first fight of the day. Okay, so let's get to the second one. Another impressive achievement in boxing. This was when Floyd Mayweather became 50-0. Okay? And this fight took place. This was Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Took place on August 26, 2017. Floyd became 50-0. Floyd Mayweather defeats Conor McGregor by 10th round TKO. All right, let's get into this one. 2 fights of the day today. 2 impressive boxing achievements too. Crush, the legend, in the building. What's up, Crush? How are you today? The best morning show in the business right there, Crush the Legend. 6 a.m. most mornings, Monday through Friday. Very versatile guy. Politics, music, boxing, whatever. And a member of that legendary Sports Talk Network. Salute, Crush. Yeah, we just going through our second fight of today. This is some impressive boxing achievements. And this fight was when Floyd became 50-0, remember? Conor McGregor. Again, it was August the 26th, 2017, 8 years ago. Well, 9 because it's 2026, right? But Floyd defeated Conor McGregor by a 10th round TKO. Let's talk about it. Now, at the time, future boxing Hall of Famer Floyd Money Mayweather ended his historic career in style with a convincing 10th round technical knockout victory over UFC megastar Conor McGregor in the main event of a 4-fight Showtime pay-per-view event from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. The 40-year-old Mayweather, fighting for the first time in 714 days, announced after the fight that he will never fight again, ending his 21-year career in style by controlling an all-action fight that thrilled the 14,623 fans in attendance and watching around the world. With Mayweather coming forward, just like he promised, referee Robert Byrd stopped the super welterweight fight at 105 of the 10th round as Mayweather punished McGregor with a series of blows that staggered his weary opponent. With the win, the 5-division world champion from Las Vegas became the first boxer to finish his career at 50-0, eclipsing the record he had previously shared with the legendary Rocky Marciano. Yep, he passed the rock. I think we gave the fans what they wanted to see, Mayweather told Showtime ringside reporter Jim Gray after the fight. I owed them for the Pacquiao fight. I had to come straight ahead and give the fans a show. And that's what I gave them. Conor was a lot better than I thought he'd be. He's a tough competitor, but I was a better man tonight. Now, all 3 judges, Dave Moretti had an 87-83, Bert Clements had an 89-82, and Guido Cavalieri, 89-81. All of them had Florida ahead on the scorecard at the time of the stoppage. Now, Showtime's unofficial scorer, Steve Farhood, had Florida ahead by the score of 86-85. Wow. Steve Farhood had it close. And Florida up by 1 point at the time of the stoppage. Now, the first two division champion in UFC history, Conor McGregor from Dublin, Ireland, said he was fatigued as the fight got into the later stages. He's composed. He's not that fast. He's not that powerful, but boy, is he composed in there. The 29-year-old McGregor said of Mayweather. I thought it was close, though, and I thought it was a bit of an early stoppage. He was just a lot more composed with his shots. I had to give it to him. That's what 50 pro fights will do for you. Now, both fighters had their moments in the early rounds. In the 4th round, Floyd forced McGregor to backpedal and continued to force the action. At the midway point of the fight, Farhood had given the first 3 rounds to the more aggressive McGregor, but then rounds 4, 5, and 6 to the more accurate Floyd, Mayweather. Okay? That was the unofficial scorer, Steve Farhood. Our game plan was to take our time, go to him, let him shoot his shots early, and then take him out down the stretch, Floyd said. We know in MMA, he fights for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, he started to slow down. I guaranteed to everybody that this wouldn't go the distance. Our game plan was to go straight ahead. I said numerous times that I wouldn't back down, and that's what I did. McGregor said he would consider boxing again and would also return to fight in the UFC. He said, I've been strangled on the TV and came back, he said. When you're in here in the squared circle, everything is different. Let the man put me down. That's fatigue. That's not damage. Where was the final 2 rounds? Let me walk back to my corner and compose myself. And McGregor said it would stop too soon. He wanted them to let him finish. Technique in the building. What's up, Technique? But your Robert Byrd stopped it. 10th round. Still had 2 to go. It was a 12 rounder, remember? Salute, Technique. Yeah, that's true. Conor was doing okay till he gassed. Yeah, but I think Floyd's plan was to take him deep because, MMA is, 5-minute rounds? Yeah, Conor started to gas after the 25-minute mark, so yeah. But he didn't do it. He gave a good accounting of himself, I thought, for his first time in there. Yeah. The salute technique. But yeah, Conor said they should have let him continue. Now, Floyd was lethally accurate in the final round, landing 20 of 26 power punches before the referee stopped the fight. Now, Conor had a 51-40 advantage in punches landed over the first 5 rounds, but was outlanded 130-60 in rounds 6 through 10, as Floyd put an exclamation point on the final fight of his career. That was it. Floyd said after the fight, he said, Rocky Marciano is a legend, and I look forward to going into the Hall of Fame one day. This was my last fight tonight, for sure. Tonight was my last fight. Tonight I chose the right dance partner to dance with. Conor, you are a hell of a champion. Yeah, that was his last real official fight that counted against the record. He did get back in there for some exhibitions and stuff. He made a lot of money too. What do you call it? Legalized bank robbery. Okay, today is some impressive boxing achievements. We're going to start out with Joe Louis. Okay, to start the ball rolling. Joe Louis, who has the most consecutive boxing title fights in any weight class. Glad y'all asked. Let's talk about it. Who has the most consecutive boxing title fights in any weight class? Okay. Let's see who that is. I believe it's him. Yeah, the government did Joe Louis dirty too. They did some nasty work on Joe, man. Let's talk about that. Yeah. Nasty work, man. Forced that man back in the ring to fight. And he really didn't owe him the money because the fights that they said he owed him taxes for, he didn't never earn any money for. He gave those fights to the war effort and to charity. So him and his lawyers didn't feel he owed the government for those fights because he didn't actually get paid off of those fights. He donated both purses. But the government wanted their money. They said it was with interest, $500,000, man. And they told Joe Louis, you either get back in there and fight and get our money, or we're going to put you in federal prison. Your Uncle Sam don't play. Yeah, so Joe had to get back in the ring. A shell of himself, especially against Rocky. Against all of them, really. As a Charles, Jersey Joe Walcott, yeah. He wasn't the Joe Louis. The one that fought Max Smelling and James J. Jeffries and all of those people. No. That Joe Louis was long gone. But he had to get the government's money or go to prison. Isn't that something? Yeah, they did nasty work on Joe, but let's talk about it. Let's get that going. But yeah, the answer to the question is Joe Louis, who has the most consecutive boxing title fights in any weight class. The Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. Okay. I know YouTube be playing games, man. With the likes and the people in the building. It says 0, but I got 2 phones in here myself, so it should be at least 2 people in here. But anyway, let's talk about it. Yeah, Joe Louis is the answer. Joe Louis holds the record for consecutive title defenses and consecutive title fights. He had 27 consecutive title fights and 25 consecutive title defenses. Now, counting only an undisputed title and not an alphabet scrap of it, Joe Louis has the most title fights in history in any weight class. Right? And they only had the NBA and the New York State Athletic Commission back then. Right? And there were some minors, but we're not counting them. These were NBA fights or for the New York State Athletic Commission title. One of those. Yeah, with 10 likes, Thomas Hill. Now, Joe Louis's first title fight was against James J. Braddock in 1937, and his last was against Ezra Charles in 1950. In between, the win over Braddock and the loss to Charles in 1950, Joe won 26 consecutive title fights over an incredible 13-year run. Okay? His win over Johnny Davis in 1943 is not counted because it was neither sanctioned nor counted by the title body, the National Boxing Association. So we don't count that one. Now, Joe Louis's title defenses. These are the names: Tommy Farr, Nathan Mann, Henry Thomas, Max Smelling, John Henry Lewis, Jack Roper, Tony Galento, Bob Pastor, Arturo Godoy, Johnny Paycheck. Now, some of them are twice, but they in order as they went. Arturo Godoy again, Al McCoy, Red Berman, Gus D'Orazio, Abe Simon, Tony Musto, Buddy Bayer, Billy Kahn, Lou Nova, Buddy Bayer again, Abe Simon, Billy Kahn again, Tom Moriello, Jersey Joe Walcott, twice. He fought Jersey Joe back to back. Joe Louis fought 20 opponents in his 25 successful title defenses. 20 of them once, 5 of them twice. He fought another, Max Smelling, a second time before he won the title. Okay? Now, Joe bookended his career with his win over James J. Braddock for the title in 1937 and his loss to Ezra Charles to try to regain it when the IRS forced him back into the ring. It should have been 26 title fights in a row, except for the IRS. Forced him back in there. Now, Joe Louis retired the first time in 1949 with a record of 61 wins and 1 loss. Only loss was to Max Smelling over a 15-year career at that point, in which he had been undisputed champion the last 12 years. And he had avenged that 1 loss to Max Smelling, okay? On June 25th, 1948, in the last fight before his first retirement, he gave Jersey Joe Walcott the rematch he deserved. Now, Louis and Walcott both believed Jersey Joe won their first fight. Walcott, believing he had to knock Louis out to win, came out to slug it out with the champion in the rematch instead of the intelligent boxing he had done in the first fight. Walcott knocked Louis down in the 3rd round, but Louis survived to knock Walcott out in the 11th round. So on March 1st, 1949, Joe Louis announced his first retirement. This would happen with the IRS. But the IRS would not let the American hero retire with dignity. Shamefully, the Internal Revenue Service forced Louis back into the ring to pay dubious taxes assessed on winnings from exhibitions in which he had collected not 1 penny from, but donated the purses, both purses, to the war effort and veterans groups. Okay, never earned a penny off either one of those fights that they wanted that money for. Okay? Nonetheless, the government insisted he owed for both fights, which he was never told at the time, forced the old bummer back into the ring. Yeah, he was the old bummer by that time. Forced him back in on money he never earned a penny off of. Isn't that crazy? Donated it to the war and veterans group. And at the time, the government said nothing. They waited till he retired years later to bring this up. Right? And Joe Louis should be remembered, as Rocky Marciano said, as the guy we grew up cheering for. Instead, the United States government forced Joe to fight in May 1950. The IRS finished a full audit of Joe Louis's past returns and announced that with interest and penalties, he owed the government more than $500,000, $500,000. Nasty work, man, on money he never earned a penny of. Donated. With no way to earn the money except fight, Joe Louis had no choice but to return to the ring, right? Now, Joe's attorneys negotiated a deal with the government under which Louis would come out of retirement with all Louis's net proceeds going to the government. Now, Louis was able to secure a title shot against champion Ezra Charles, who had acquired the vacant heavyweight title in June 1949 after Lewis retired and Ezzard had outpointed Jersey Joe Walcott. They fought for Joe Lewis's vacant title. So Ezzard Charles gave him a shot, right? Now, Joe Louis was 36 years old at that time and had been away from competitive boxing for 2 years. He weighed 218 pounds. Now, he retained his old power, but that was about it. His reflexes and speed were long gone. Ezzard Charles repeatedly beat him to the punch. By the end of the fight, Louis was cut above both eyes, one of which was shut tight by swelling. Okay? Now, Joe Louis knew he had lost even before Charles was declared the winner. The result was not the only disappointing aspect of the fight for Louis. His share of the purse was a mere $100,458. So he had to keep fighting. He owed the government $500,000. So he had to continue fighting, not because he wanted to, but because the government forced him to, with threats of federal prison if he didn't continue fighting to pay them the taxes on money he never earned a penny of. He donated it, right? Every penny. He either went to the war effort or to disabled veterans groups, okay? They should have just let that go, but the government, that was a nasty work right there, man, I thought. Nasty work. Wow. Okay. Salute, Mike Massett. How are you today? We just talked about Joe Louis and how the government just shamefully. And then they got Ali about 20 years later. Yeah, the government, man, that was nasty work though. But salute, Mike Massett. Yeah. And he never saw a penny of this money. Donated it. And he earned nowhere near $500,000 for these 2 fights. They said penalties and everything. That's what it ended up at, $500,000. Okay, so yeah, the government's behavior was disgraceful and remains a black eye on American boxing to this day. They should have let Louis retire with dignity instead of stealing money from him on taxes he never should have paid on, because it was money he never earned, okay? Still, no one in boxing history comes close to 27 consecutive title fights or 25 consecutive title defenses for the undisputed title, not in alphabet part. All of these fights were for the undisputed title. NBA, National Boxing Association, and the New York State Athletic Commission back then in the late 30s and through the 40s, because he stayed champion for 11 years and like 10 months, so you rounded off to 12 years. But Joe Louis, but that was shameful behavior by the United States government right there, man. The man never spent the penny of that money. He donated it to, guess who? The government, the Army, and veterans groups. So they got their money from Joe Louis. Why did they have to pay taxes on it again? He donated it to them, the government, right? That's who the Army and the veterans groups are run by the government. So wasn't that crazy? He donated every penny of those 2 fights to the government. Then they made him pay $500,000 on taxes under threat of going to federal prison. And the man could do nothing else but fight, so he had to get back in the ring. Okay? But today, that still was an impressive achievement, boxing achievement. 27 title fights and 25 successful title defenses, okay? With the Brown Bomber. So now we're going to look at the 10 most impressive winning streaks in boxing history. The 10 most impressive winning streaks in boxing history. There's Rock. He had the 49-0 one. The Rockster, Marciano. Okay. So let's get into that. And impressive. Impressive not winning streaks. We're going to do knockouts too, but winning streaks first. Okay. Yeah, this month is not bad at all, because we got Subriel and Agent Carviala in there this weekend. Yeah. We got 3 big fights on the weekend at Shakir and Teofimo. Then Desires is in there. Murder Zaliad, Bakram is in there. Yep. So wow. Off to a good start for this month. And Zerto is fighting this month too. And then he got the fight with Benavidez. What is that, March? So Zerto taking a chance. Suppose he lose this fight, lose his title. There goes the Benavidez payday. Got to give Zerto his props, I guess. Yep, he's fighting. I forgot who he was fighting, but he got a fight coming up. It's next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday. Yep, putting his cruiserweight title on the line. But let's talk about these winning streaks. 10 most impressive winning streaks in boxing history. Okay. Of course, The Rock got his 49. We're going to talk about that one. Okay, but the first one is going to be Larry Holmes. I don't know what happened to Larry Holmes' picture. Bruce Gass, boxing, jazz, and more in the building. Salute, Bruce Gass. How are you today? How much of my impressive boxing achievement? 10 of the most impressive winning streak. Salute, Bruce Gass. Larry Holmes. He had a pretty good one. Now, Larry Holmes just might be the most underrated heavyweight champion of all time. It's a natural consequence of following Muhammad Ali. We was talking about that the other day, remember? The greatest heavyweight of all time, and preceding Mike Tyson, who was among the most exciting. Larry Holmes was right in between those two, remember? But Holmes ruled the heavyweight division for an entire era. Now, when he beat Ken Norton for the vacant WBC belt in June 1978, remember that's when he got his first title. And then he dropped the title to Michael Spinks in September 1985. Okay, all that time, he had the title. Okay, so think about anybody that was living what you was doing in 1978, all the way to what you was doing in 1985. 7 years. Along the way, in between those 2 points, he ran his record to 48-0. That's 1 win short of Rocky Marciano's 49-0. Okay? Now, a lot of people thought he deserved that fight against Spinks. And he also, people think he was criminally robbed in the rematch. So a lot of people think Holmes should have got the 50-0. But if he would have beat Spinks in the first fight, he probably wouldn't have had the rematch. But he would have been 49-0. Now, Holmes was a highly skilled boxing technician. He campaigned at a high level, well past age 40. Almost 40 into the 2000s. Yeah. I don't know what happened to Holmes' picture, but next is Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano is next. Talking about some of the most impressive winning streaks in boxing history. Now, in the same way that Floyd Mayweather partisans will argue that he's the greatest of all time because he is undefeated, fans will occasionally try to claim Rocky Marciano is the greatest heavyweight ever because he retired undefeated. But that's simplistic thinking. Now, Rocky fought a relatively low level of competition for a dominant heavyweight champion. His best wins were against a past his prime Ezra Charles and Joe Walcott, Joe Louis, Archie Moore. But that's not his fault. He fought who was available to fight at the time. But Rocky started late in the sport, and he developed slowly and with caution. was developed slowly and with caution. Even after he beat Joe Louis, one of his next fights was against well-traveled journeyman Lee Savold, whom Louis had stopped the previous year. But 49-0 is 49-0, okay? And Ezra Charles, Jersey Joe Walcott, Joe Louis, and Archie Moore are all all-time greats and were still dangerous when Rocky beats him. One thing is certain, Rocky's winning streak is among the most exciting of all time. On numerous occasions, The Rock was on the brink of defeat, only to have his immortal right hand, sublimely nicknamed Susie Q, grab victory from the jaws of defeat with sudden violence. The Rock. Okay, Jimmy Wald, Mighty Adam, Jimmy Wald. Talk about some winning streaks here. Jimmy Wald, the greatest British boxer ever. Jimmy Wald. Now, Joe Carzaka and Ricardo Lopez not on here, 46-0, and Ricardo Lopez was 52-0. But we do have Welshman and a 108-pound fighter, Jimmy Wald. And before losing to Tansy Lee in January of 1915, Jimmy Wald had run his pro record to 93 wins, no losses, and 1 draw. 93-0 with 1 draw. Jimmy Wald was the lightweight champion of the world during his long undefeated run and remained so for years after losing to Lee by round 17 TKO. As was common for the era, Wald routinely fought and beat larger men. Wald normally weighed in around 108 pounds and always gave up pounds. He gave up 10 pounds to Lee. And that's a significant percentage of body weight for fighters that size, okay? Jimmy Wald. Roberto Duran. Well, he came through those 70s. I think he was like 54-1. He won like 40-something in a row between the loss to Jesus and the one in the second fight to Sugar Ray. Now, Roberto Duran has the shortest unbeaten streak on this list, between losing to Esteban de Jesus in November 1972 and his infamous no Moss fight against Sugar Ray Leonard in November 1980. Duran won 41 straight fights. Now, during those 41 fights, the Hands of Stone established himself as arguably the greatest lightweight in boxing history. He was the most dominant fighter pound for pound of the 1970s, and then moved up to welterweight and beat Sugar Ray Leonard, who is an all-time top 5 himself, right? At welterweight. Then we had Floyd, 50-0. We talked about Floyd in the fight of the day today against Conor McGregor when he got that 50-0. There's him and Oscar. Mm-hmm. Floyd Mayweather, talking about some of the greatest winning streaks. Now, compared to some of the fighters on this list, Floyd Mayweather's 50-0 record doesn't make the eyes budge because a lot of them is like 80, 90-0. But in today's era, fighters just don't fight as often as they used to. But the percentage of high-quality opponents Floyd fought during his career is as good or better than in the longer streaks compiled by the other fighters from earlier eras, okay? And you have to be glad that the modern fighters can earn enough money. They don't have to risk their health fighting as often as the boxers from earlier eras. But that don't mean you still don't give credit to a fighter like Sugar Ray Robinson, who is fighting an extra dozen journeymen every year just to make some extra money. And those were still professional fights that took a serious toll on the body year after year. Now, a great fighter can get banged up worse sometimes against a C-level fighter, even if he doesn't win with relative ease. Still get banged up. You're still getting hit upside the head where the brain is at, right? C level, B level, whatever level. Now, on the other hand, the stress of managing a promotion to the degree that Floyd did twice a year was a different kind of challenge. And plenty of talented fighters have managed to fall apart in a lot less time than has passed while Floyd compiles his streak. And at the end of the day, winning 50 straight fights at the world championship level is a real accomplishment, no matter who and what era you did it in. Okay, Floyd Mayweather. Okay, the great Harry Greb. Yeah, Harry Greb was just freaking incredible, man. Incredible. There's Harry. Harry Greb is the most mythical figure on this list. And they said there's no footage of him. Virtually no footage of Harry Greb fighting. Virtually no footage of Harry Greb fighting anywhere. But he was a dominant middleweight champion of his era and fought multiple times a month. So countless journalists and historians recorded the argument among his contemporaries for Greb's status as the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of their time, of his era. In written description, the Pittsburgh Windmill always sounds something like the middleweight version of Jack Dempsey. He was the only fighter to ever beat Dempsey's conqueror, Gene Tunney. Now, between Greb's May 1920 loss to Tommy Gibbons and the February 1923 loss to Gene Tunney, he won at least 50 straight fights. And once he won 45 in 1 year, 1919, Harry Greb. King Carlos Monzon. There's Carlos on the right. Carlos Monzon lost 3 fights early in his career while still competing at the club level in Argentina. But after falling to 16-3 in October 1964, King Carlos never lost another fight in his career. By the time Monzon hit the world-class level, he had developed into a dominating fighter. He became a major superstar in South America and a highly regarded champion around the world. Monzon had gone unbeaten in more than 80 fights when he retired as the undisputed champion in 1977. Unbeaten in more than 80 fights. You know he's on there. Julio Cesar Chavez. Julio Cesar Chavez. Now, this is not an all-time pound-for-pound list, okay? But when ranking winning streaks, they don't get much better than Julio Cesar Chavez's. The dominant 3-division world champion ran his record to 87-0, if you count when he actually got beaten for the first time against Pernell Whitaker, or the 89-0-1 before losing to Frankie Randall. If you count the fight to Whitaker as a loss, it was 87-0. But officially, it was 89-0. It was one draw because the Whitaker fight, they called it a draw. Okay? And then he lost his first fight with Frankie Randall when he was 89-0-1. Okay? Julio Cesar Chavez. Willie Pep. Yeah, 89-0 for JCC. Willie Pep. There's Willie Pep and Chalky Wright. And Willie Pep started his career with a 62-0 record before losing his first professional fight to Sammy Angan in March 1943. Okay, 62-0, right? But that's not the winning streak that gets Willie Pep on this list. After he lost that fight at 62-0, his next loss was to Sandy Sadler in 1948. And between those two fights, he went 72-0, okay, with one draw. So he was 134-0 with one draw, and established himself as arguably the greatest featherweight of all time. During that winning streak, he also suffered a serious injury in a plane crash, and he still came back that same year and fought 10 more times. The same year of being in a plane crash, he fought 10 times later that year. Perhaps the greatest defense of all time also. Pep was able to continue winning fights until well past age 40. Willie Pep. And finally, Sugar Ray Robinson. The last one of the winning streak, impressive winning streak. Sugar Ray Robinson. There's more, but I just listed 10. Sugar Ray Robinson. By most historical counts, Joe Louis's record as the top boxer of the 1940s. That's the way it is when you are the dominant heavyweight champion of the world. But based on what was accomplished in the ring, Sugar Ray Robinson was probably the fighter of the decade for the 1940s. He was probably the fighter of the decade for the 1950s too. His best unbeaten streak spanned both decades. After starting his career 40-0, Sugar Ray suffered his first loss against the Bronx Bull, Jake LaMotta, in February 1943. After that, he won 88 straight fights without a loss before getting upset by Randy Turpin in July 1951. 88 straight. During that streak, Sugar Ray collected first the welterweight and then the middleweight title. After suffering his second loss against Turpin, Robinson came back 2 months later and knocked the Englishman out in the rematch. Sugar Ray started 1952 by beating Bobo Awesome by decision in March and then knocking out Rocky Graciano a month later in April. In June 1952, he collapsed in the 104-degree heat in Yankee Stadium against light heavyweight world champion Joey Maxim in a fight where he was far ahead on his way to his third divisional title at light heavyweight, but he couldn't continue because of the heat. And before he went down, they had to change referee. They was outside in 104-degree heat. Wow. Okay. So now let's look at the 10 most impressive knockout streaks. We looked at the winning streaks, 10 most impressive knockout streaks. There's somebody on these. 10 most impressive knockout streaks now in boxing history. Impressive boxing achievements today. We're going to talk about Brian Castano Friday. Life and career. He fought Lamel twice, and then we haven't heard anything else from him. That's 10 most impressive knockout streaks in boxing history now. You know, boxing fans love nothing more than a knockout, right? So let's talk about these 10 streaks. First is the Black Destroyer. Is that what they call him? Ernest Shaver. There's him and Larry Holmes. Ernest Shavers and Larry Holmes, right there. Oh, there we go. I couldn't find the cursor. There it is. Okay, yeah, the first one is Ernie Shavers. When you're talking about power. That's what everybody that fought him said he was the hardest one they ever got hit by. Ernie Shavers. Him and Larry Holmes there. He knocked Holmes down. And everybody thought it was over, but Holmes got up from it. Ernie Shavers. Ernie Shavers fought in the 1970s, which was the golden age. Ernie Shavers fought in the 1970s, which was the golden age of heavyweights. Okay? Muhammad Ali and Ron Lyle have both gone on the record, calling Shavers the hardest puncher they ever faced. Between August 1970 and May 1972, Shavers knocked out 27 straight opponents. The quality of opposition ranged only from lousy to mediocre, but his work rate was astonishing nonetheless. Nobody was carefully stage managing his career to pad his KO record. He was simply fighting as often as he could and knocking out anybody foolish enough to get in the ring with him, at an average of over one knockout a month. Ernie Shavers, most impressive knockout streaks in boxing history. John the Beast Mugabe, there's him in Hagler, the Beast. One of the great knockout punchers of the 1980s, Uganda's John the Beast Mugabe earned his nickname. He earned that nickname, the Beast. He was a ferocious, two-fisted demon who annihilated everybody in his path prior to his round 11 knockout loss to Marvelous Marvin Hagler in 1986. Now, Mugabe was a wide-open fighter and usually lost by knockout too, okay? Following his first defeat to Hagler, he lost his next fight by round 3 TKO to Dwayne Thomas. He then rebounded to win 11 straight by stoppage before getting knocked out in round 1 by Terry Norris in 1990. And so the Beast either won by knockout or lost by knockout. One of them. Okay. Most impressive knockout streaks, Vitaly Klitschko. There's him in Lennox. Vitaly. Only lost 2 fights in his career. They can make a strong statistical argument that Vitaly Klitschko is the greatest knockout puncher in the history of the heavyweight division. He finished 41 of 47 professional opponents for a knockout percentage of just over 87%. He was the older Klitschko brother. He started his pro career with a knockout streak of 27 straight, right? In his 25th fight, he captured the WBO title with a round 2 knockout of Herbie Hyde. His streak ended when he lost by TKO to Chris Bird after injuring his shoulder. Right there to stop the fight. But he did get his revenge on that one. Edwin Valero. There's Edwin. Edwin Valero's skyrocketing career came to a shocking halt in 2010 when the native of Venezuela was arrested for the murder of his wife. Shortly afterward, he committed suicide in police custody. Up to that point, he had emerged as the sport's most exciting puncher. He knocked out all 27 of his pro opponents, with 19 of them going down in the opening round. Valero collected world titles at super featherweight and lightweight. Yeah, his career was still going on when that happened too. When he was suspected of killing his wife, arrested for killing his wife, and then committed suicide in police custody. Okay. Alfonso Zamora. We're looking at some of the most impressive knockout streaks. Alfonso Zamora is one of 2 fighters on this list who was knocked out by another fighter on this list. In the 1970s, he was knocked out by Zarate, who's on this list, and Zarate was knocked out by Wilfredo Gomez, who's on this list. Okay, so yeah. In the 1970s, a bunch of heavy-handed sluggers were fighting from bantamweight to featherweight in the lower classes. Yeah. Zamora started his career with 29 straight knockouts. He knocked out his first 19 opponents and then knocked out Su Hwan Hong in 4 rounds to capture the WBA bantamweight title in 1975. He knocked out 9 more opponents before losing to knockout machine Carlos Zarate by round 4 TKO in his 30th fight. And Zarate is on this list. Okay? Acelino Freitas. That's Acelino on the right there. Acelino Freitas emerged in the 1990s as the greatest boxer from Brazil since Ida Joffre. The explosive super bantamweight knocked out his first 29 professional opponent. He won the WBO super featherweight title in August 1998 in his 21st fight, and knocked out his first 8 challengers before Alfred Cote finally took him the distance. He still won, but he finally got taken the distance. Freitas won by unanimous decision. He followed that fight with a unanimous decision victory over Joe Casamayor to add the WBA 130-pound belt to his collection. Okay, Homicide Hank. Talk about knockout streaks. Homicide Hank had a good one on the right. I think that's him and Barney Ross. Okay, Homicide Hank had a good one. Some impressive boxing achievements to that. Terry Armstrong needs to be on any short list of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time. He's the only man to hold world titles in 3 divisions at the same time. And he did it during an era with only 8 divisions and a single world champion in each one. Known by the nickname of Homicide Hank, Armstrong was an explosively dangerous offensive fighter. He is one of the few men in boxing history with more than 100 verified professional knockouts. Between April 1937 and March 1938, he went on a knockout rampage, stopping 27 straight opponents. Not everybody he beat during the streak was a contender or even a respectable journeyman, but it was still a remarkable ledger of carnage to compile in less than a full calendar year. And it included capturing the world featherweight title from Peter Saran in October of 1937. Okay? Big George Foreman. There he is in Joe Frazier. Get ready to lift Joe up off the canvas with that uppercut. Big George. George Foreman's knockout streak is the shortest on this list. Between his round 10 unanimous decision victory over Gregorio Peralta in 1970 and his round 8 knockout loss to Muhammad Ali in October 1974, Big George mowed down 24 straight opponents inside of the distance. 24, and that's the shortest one on the list. 24 straight. But during that streak, Big George forged an aura as imposing as any heavyweight puncher in the sport's history. Hitting into his defense against Ali, few gave the former champion a shot. Foreman looked invincible. Just like we were saying the other day, the 8 fights before Ali didn't go past 3 rounds. Foreman's streak is ultimately remarkable, primarily for 2 performances. In January 1973, he blitzed Joe Frazier to win the heavyweight title, okay? Becoming battery-spoken Joe all over the ring and knocking him down 6 times en route to a round 2 TKO. Then, in March 1974, Big George knocked Ken Norton down 3 times and stopped him in the second round by TKO in his last fight before Ali. So that's why, and those were the only 2 men that had beaten Ali at that point. So that's why, nobody gave Ali a chance. Carlos Zarate on the left. Now he's incredible, Carlos Zarate. Carlos Zarate started his career with 23 straight knockouts. But that streak is not the one that earned him inclusion on this list. After winning his 24th fight by unanimous decision, Zarate then won his next 28 by stoppage, collecting a WBC bantamweight title along the way, giving him a record of 52 and over 51 knockouts. 52 and over 51 knockouts. Among his victims was Afonso Zamora, who had his own 29-fight knockout streak ended by Zarate by round 4 TKO. When they fought, both of them had 20-something fight knockout streaks. So you knew that wasn't going the distance. In all, Zarate ran his record to 52 and over 51 knockouts before losing to Wilfredo Gomez by round 5 TKO, his first loss. And speaking of Wilfredo Gomez, he's number 1 on the list. There's Wilfredo. And he's fighting Zarate with Wilfredo on the left, because he's the final one. And while there have been longer knockout streaks than Wilfredo Gomez's 32, none of those fighters come close to matching Gomez in terms of quality. Half the fights in his streak were world title fights, okay? After fighting to a draw in his professional debut, Wilfredo Gomez won his next 32 fights by knockout. He captured the WBC Super Bantamweight title by round 12 knockout against Dong Kyung Young in 1977. He defended the belt 16 times, knocking out every single challenger. Gomez finally lost to the great Salvador Sanchez by round 8 TKO when he moved up to featherweight. He moved back down to junior featherweight and won his next 8 fights by stoppage before winning a unanimous decision over Juan Laporte and then getting knocked out in round 11 by Zuma Nelson. All right, okay. So now let's look at the man that's got the most consecutive knockouts in a row. We looked at 10 impressive knockout streaks. And this is interesting here. This is the man with the most knockouts in a row. This is very interesting. Lamar Clark is his name. There's Lamar. He's got the most knockouts in a row. It's debatable. Some say 44, some say 43, some say 42. But it's over 40. I think everybody else is in the 30s, so he's definitely number 1. But let's talk about Lamar Clark. Longest consecutive knockout streak in boxing history with 40-something. 40-something. Okay? 40-something. Okay, let's talk about Lamar. Okay, let's see. Okay, for one, memento, please. Memento. That's one of my 5 languages. I speak memento. That means moment. Okay, let's see. What's going on here? You don't start that. Lamar. Okay, you gotta give me a moment, please. We're gonna get it together. Okay, I got to go out and come back in because I don't know what's going on. How's everybody this hump day? afternoon, halfway through. And like I was saying earlier, this is going to be a good month of boxing. What was the man's name? Lamar Clark, right? Yeah, Lamar Clark. I don't think I had the right name in there. Wow. Nope, that's not it. I don't understand this. I can something be there before I start, and then after I start, it's not there anymore. Let's try it again. Could be it right there. No, that's not it. Well, we might not have Lamar. Oh, here we go. Okay. 44 consecutive knockouts, the Lamar Clark story. Yeah, we got it. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. This is interesting. Now, if you were to look at page 1056 of the Ring Record Book and Boxing Encyclopedia of 1986-87, you would find there a listing of the fighters with the most consecutive knockouts in the history of boxing. All those with 20 or more in a row are listed. You would naturally expect to find many famous names there, and you would indeed find them. Carlos Zarate, Aaron Pryor, Jesus Pimentel, Wilfredo Gomez, and Tom Sharkey are all on the list. Now, unless you are over 60 years of age, you would probably never guess who tops that list. It is Lamar Clark with 44 knockouts in succession. Okay? Excuse me for one more time. Yeah, Lamar Clark tops the list, though. You probably would not expect that. Most people have never heard of him. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Okay, let's continue. Lamar Clark, most consecutive knockouts in boxing history. There we go. All right. Yeah. Lamar Clark would be at the top, 44 in succession. You would probably be compliant to ask at that time, just who is this guy? Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Why have I never heard of him? The following is his very unique story. Now, Lamar Clark was born in Cedar City, Utah in December of 1934. He attended Cedar City High School, where he excelled at baseball, football, and basketball. After graduation, he became a chicken farmer, and then later a boxer. As an amateur boxer, he was among the top 10 in America, right? Standing 5'10" tall and weighing around 185 pounds, he was just slightly smaller than most heavyweights in those days. After winning several local amateur tournaments, He won the regional Golden Gloves heavyweight title in Las Vegas in 1957. He also reached the quarterfinals of the National Amateur Athletic Union Championships in Boston. The Associated Press in 1958 said he finished with an amateur record of 25 wins, 2 losses before turning pro. Okay? Now, there's some dispute about this. There were reports of 2 pro fights in 1955, both 8-rounders, a draw and a decision win. Now, this seems unlikely since he was fighting as an amateur in 1957, but you never know. Anyway, because record keeping in those days was pretty sketchy, and the administration of the amateur game not all that good either at that time, right? But anyway, in January of 1958, Lamar turned pro as part of the well-known Marv Jensen stable of fighters. The Marv Jensen managed middleweight champion Gene Foreman, as well as his 2 brothers, Don and Jay Foreman, who were also good boxers. Yeah, Gene is a Hall of Famer. And Lamar Clark was in that stable that he was in. And also, the top 10 heavyweight slugger, Rex Lane, was also one of Marv Jensen's fighters. Clark's first fight was against another man making his pro debut, a guy named John Hicks. Now, Lamar won a close 6-round decision over Hicks, and that would be the only time in his career that one of his fights would go the distance, his first fight, right? He would go on from there to win his next 44 fights, all by knockout. And his opponent from that first fight, Hicks, fought only one more time when it was stopped 2 weeks later. Well, guess who? By Clark in 3 rounds. So his first fight of his career was the only fight that ever went the distance. And his second fight was against that same guy, and he knocked him out in 3 rounds. So, after bringing his record to 12-0, Lamar really got serious about rolling up a record number of quick victories. On October 13th, still in 1958, he knocked out 2 men in the same night, okay? On November 10th, still in 1958, the next month, he stopped 3 opponents in the same night. On November 28th, later that month, he stopped 2 men in the same night. Finally, he hit his peak about a couple weeks later. On December 1st, he stopped 6 opponents in one night, 5 of them in the first round, okay? And 1 in the second round. He stopped 6 opponents in the same night, 5 in the first round, and the 6th one in the second round. And this concluded his first year as a pro, right? This concluded his first year as a pro. 30 wins. His first fight, unanimous, 6-round unanimous decision. His last 29 by knockout. Okay, 30-0 with 29 knockouts. Okay. Let's see what his knockout ratio was. This was just after his first year. Okay? This wasn't his career mark. This was after his first year. 30 wins, 29 knockouts, 96.6% knockout ratio. Okay? So let's continue. That's just his first year, remember? Let's continue. So by now you must be wondering if this guy was some kind of a Superman. Actually, he wasn't. He was always fit and he always could punch. Okay? He was described as a rugged brawler. The secret of his success was his opposition, right? The secret of his success was his opponent. By the time Lamar reached 25-0, now listen to this carefully, right? He done beat 25 people 25-0. Only one of those 25 fighters had ever won a fight. That was the secret to his success was his opponents. His first 20, let me repeat that. His first 25 opponents, only one of them had won a fight in their career, right? And that guy's name was Dynamite Jackson, and he had won one fight and lost 5. First 25 opponents, only one of them had ever won a pro fight, and he had only won one, right? So the secret to Lamar's success was his opposition, clearly. And he knocked out Dynamite Jackson in the first round, like many of Lamar's other opponents. Now, Lamar fought all over Utah, including at his old high school, several times. Now, his opponents were obviously not truly not top-level fighters, but rather local toughs, or not so toughs, who somehow managed to get a pro license. At the end of Lamar's career, right, his 44 knockout career, 40 of his 44 knockout victims never won a fight during their career. 40 of them. 40 of his 44 knockout victims never won a pro fight, right? But pro boxing was not tightly controlled in Utah in those days. Like anybody could get a pro license. 40 of his 44 knockout victims never won a fight in their career. On December 15th, Stillis Clark traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, where he dispatched 2 more victims in one night. One named Cornell Butler. He had won 2 fights. Won 2 and lost 9. So Lamar was stepping up. He fought somebody with 2 wins. He was stepping up in competition, right? The next March, he went out to Palm Springs, California with his streak still intact and met perhaps his toughest opponent. This guy was 3 wins. So he was stepping up when he fought somebody with 2 wins. Then he met his toughest opponent, a guy with 3 wins, according to BoxRec. And the guy lasted until the 4th round with Lamar. And guess what? This guy went on to win as many as 12 fights. But against who? That's the question. Finally, in March of 1960, Clark made his try at the big time. He was matched in Ogden, Utah with Bartolo Sony. 12 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. The fight was nationally televised, right? Wow. He actually got on TV. And Lamar did rather well in the early rounds before fading, and he got stopped in the 9th round. It was quite an exciting fight. The 44-fight knockout streak was over, but Lamar was not finished yet. In June, he met the former Olympic heavyweight champion, Pete Rademacher. Pete Rademacher was famous for challenging for the world title against Floyd Mayweather in his very first pro fight. Okay, that's what Pete was famous for. He fought Floyd Mayweather for the heavyweight title in his first fight. Okay? Now, Rademacher knocked Floyd Patterson down before he got stopped himself. And he ended the fight against Lamar. 6 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and he stopped Lamar. But guess what? Lamar really stepped all the way up. He had one more meaningless win, and guess who the final fight of his career was against? The young and undefeated Cassius Clay, right? And Cassius was in his 6th pro fight. So Lamar stepped all the way up, fought Cassius Clay in his 6th pro fight, who later became Muhammad Ali. And Clay stopped Clark in 2 rounds, okay? Now, Lamar Clark was not a great fighter, but his record still stands. Now, according to BoxRec, his record does not quite agree with the Ring record book. BoxRec credits him with 43 wins in total. The Ring lists those two fights in 1955, when some people say he turned pro in 57. But we'll never know for sure. Now, Lamar Clark died in November 2006 at the age of 71. And the next time you hear about some young unknown fighter with a whole pile of knockout wins, think about Lamar Clark and ask yourself what it really means. You know, Lamar Clark, right? 44 knockout. 40 of his knockout victims never won a fight in their pro career. That's the record, 44 straight. Although 40 of them never won a fight, they were pro fighters. So Lamar has that record, 44 consecutive knockouts. Wow. Okay. So now let's look at these fighters, the 10 greatest boxers who were never knocked out in their career. The 10 greatest boxers who were never knocked out in their career. That's Rocky and Archie Moore again. The 10 greatest boxers who were never knocked out in their career. Okay? And that's probably going to be about it. Yeah. And then we get a chance, we want to talk about George Chuvalo, the greatest chin of all time. But these are 10 great boxers who were never knocked out. Never stopped in their career. Okay? Get into that. Okay, so now there's nothing more definitive in sports than a knockout. The brutality involved is grimacing. The delivery is breathtaking. The boxing world gasps every time you see somebody get brutally knocked out. Okay, let's look at some honorable mention. These fighters here got knocked out just once in their career. There's Michael Spinks on the canvas in his one and only knockout. And he got knocked out by Iron Mike, remember? Then he retired after that fight. But these are some fighters that only went down once. Here are 10 men who missed making this list by the narrowest of margins, as they all suffered just one knockout defeat in their respective careers. Muhammad Ali, Jack Britton, Tony Canzoneri, Tommy Gibbons, Jimmy McLaurin, Carlos Ortiz, Sandy Sadler, Michael Spinks, Freddie Welsh, Teddy Arose, and that's it. So now let's look at the 10 great boxers that were never stopped in their careers. Charlie Burley, that's Charlie on the right, one of the murderous road fighters. Charlie Burley was history's most avoided fighter. Jake LaMotta, Tony Zale, even Henry Armstrong and Sugar Ray Robinson, they or their managers wanted nothing to do with Burley. He was just too good. But let's not focus on who Burley didn't fight, but instead on the men he did fight, and who, no matter their size, couldn't knock him out. On his best night, Burley could beat any 147 or 160-pound fighter in history. He was that good. He was the master of distance, and his timing was almost supernatural. I told you the man was like a ghost in the ring. Burley turned pro in September 1936. Less than 2 years later, he defeated the Hall of Famer, Fritzie Zivit. 2 months after that, He outpointed the Coco Kid over 15 rounds for the colored welterweight title. In 1942, after defeating the likes of Zivik again, Jimmy Lito, Nate Bolden, Antonio Fernandez, and even 220-pound heavyweight J.D. Turner, Burley handed a severe beating per the New Orleans Times Picayune to Hall of Famer Holman Williams for the colored middleweight title. Of course, the real world title eluded him, but he still added great victories over Jack Chase 3 times, Aaron Wade 3 times. All of those are murderous road fighters, and they had to fight each other. Oakland Billy Smith 2 times, Burt Lytell, and future heavyweight champion Archie Moore to his resume. He also fought another future heavyweight champion, Ezra Charles, twice. And not even a Cincinnati Cobra, one of boxing's greatest tacticians, could get enough leather on Burley to knock him out. He is humor Burley too. He's just great to watch him fight, Charles Burley. Kid Gavilan was never knocked out. Never knocked out. I don't think he was ever even knocked down, Kid Gavilan. His birthday was yesterday. Kid Gavilan. Nicknamed, that's who the Cuban Hawk was, Kid Gavilan. Nicknamed the Cuban Hawk, Kid Gavilan was a brilliant, masterful boxer. You can't knock out what you can't hit, and his opponents learned that the hard way. Okay, another one that was never knocked out. Mike Gibbons, one of the Gibbons brothers. There's Mike. Mike Gibbons never stopped in his career. Mike Gibbons fought 133 times. He had 113 wins. He lost just 10. The rest was draws, but he was never knocked out. Mike Gibbons. Marvin Hagler. The one knockdown he suffered was a slip, not really a knockdown, but the referee called it a knockdown. Even the man that knocked him down, Ron Rodon, said it wasn't a knockdown, right? BBO Sports TV, yeah. Hagler went to his grave saying that was a slip, and Ron Rodon was the man that supposedly knocked him down. Even Ron Rodon said it was a slip, but the referee called it a knockdown. So one in the books as a knockdown. What's up, BBO? Salute. See BBO tonight at 8 p.m. with the game. Marvin Hagler. We're looking at some fighters that were never knocked out in their careers, BBO. Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler is one of boxing's most beloved competitors. He starred in the fan-friendly boxing scene of the 1980s. He is arguably the greatest non-heavyweight only to compete in one weight class and was never knocked out. And he spent the 70s being the most avoided fighter in the history of boxing. Marvin Hagler did. Ida Joffer was never knocked out. That's Ida on the right, the greatest bantamweight ever. Ida Joffer. Never stopped. Ida Joffer is the greatest bantamweight of all time, which fits his nickname, the Golden Bantam. He was the archetype of all boxer punchers who would follow. He never made a mistake and was absolutely flawless as a fighter. Never knocked out. Ida Joffer. Greatest bantamweight, greatest Brazilian fighter of all time. Of course, Rocky Marciano, never knocked out. There's Rocky. Rocky Marciano is often remembered for 2 things. His lion-hearted approach to the fight game and his flawless professional record of 49-0-0. He'd been down on the canvas but never stopped. Packy McFarlane, never stopped. Packy McFarlane is a forgotten name to most. He was the cleverest fighter of his time. In his prime, he was unhittable and frankly unbeatable. Save for Sam Lightfoot, he's the greatest fighter never to win a universally recognized world title. He had some minors, but never one of the. He fought in the era of the National Boxing Association and the New York State Athletic Commission. Never had either of them. And then we have fighters never knocked out. Down. King Carlos Monzon. King Carlos. There he is. Carlos Monzon defined dominance. Didn't lose for the last 13 years of his career. He was the perfect blend of speed, skill, aggression, and an inextinguishable will to win. He was the ultimate ring general. His opponents never knew how he was going to pull out the victory, but they all accepted their defeat as imminent. He could brawl, he could box, he could do it all. King Carlos could. Barney Ross. Barney Ross. Never knocked out. Barney Ross could also do it all. For 9 years, Ross was a cyclone. He passed through and left his catastrophic mark on 3 separate weight classes and defeated every stylistic challenge set before him. He outboxed the boxers and outpunched the punchers to an unbelievable record of 74 wins, 4 losses, 3 draws, only losing twice in his prime. And of course, he was never knocked out. Barney Ross. And finally, the great Gene Tunney. Only one loss was to Harry Grab. Gene Tunney. Gene Tunney. Never knocked out in his career. Gene Tunney lost just once in 83 fights, and it wasn't by knockout. Not to say it wasn't close to being a knockout, though. The date was May 23rd, 1922. The American light heavyweight title was on the line, and Tunney was set to fight the Pittsburgh Windmill, Harry Grab. And Grab clobbered Tunney into a pulp. By the end of the 15-round shellacking, Tunney was bleeding from his eyebrows, nose, and mouth. So bloodied up was he during the fight that he saw nothing more than a red phantom-like form dancing before him, according to his book, A Man Must Fight. Okay, so yeah, those fighters were never knocked out. And finally, George Chuvalo is the greatest chin of all time, but let's look at some records that will never be broken, okay? Here's George Chuvalo. He has the greatest chin of all time, but let's look at these records that will never be broken. Boxing records that will never be broken. Okay? And then that's gonna take us up to 4 p.m. and just do boxing. Ten boxing records that will never be broken. Okay, you say records made to be broken, but these 10 wasn't. These 10 wasn't. Okay? These 10 records were not made to be broken. Let's look at it. Not going to take us long. Yeah, BBO is the man. I went there one day. He had Jacob Stitch Duran in there. I had to go out and come back in. The legendary Jacob Stitch Duran. He had been in the corner legendary Hall of Famers. He was on BBO's channel. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. Yep, Jacob Stitch Duran. And I'm going to have Turkey Alley Sheik one day. My people is talking to his people as we speak. Okay? 10 boxing records that will never be broken. My people is talking to his people right now. Okay? Turkey Alley Sheik. Look out for that. Okay. Here we go. Wilfred Benitez, youngest world champion. That might be. Yeah, 17 years old. We talked about that. Yeah, Wilford. There he is. He won the title at 17. Radar did. Mm-hmm. Let's be hot there though. I don't know what happened. B-Hop is the oldest. Wolford won it at 17. Bernard Hopkins, oldest world champion, 49. Broke the record 3 times. He broke George Foreman's. He was 47, and Foreman had it at 45. No, 46, I think. Then he broke that. He was 48. Broke his own record. Then he broke his own record again when he was 49. Yeah. Yep. Then we have another record. It's going to be hard to break. Records are made to be broken. So Manny Pacquiao. Amanda Serrano got 7 and she's still active. So I don't know. Is this safe or not? 8 divisions for Manny. I don't know how this got all out of order. Manny Pacquiao's record of 8 division world champion. Okay. There's Manny and Keith Thurman. Okay, yeah, I think it's right now. Yeah. Yeah, B-Hop. That was the cover picture for the records that would never be broken. Wilfred Benitez was 17, youngest. B-Hop was oldest, 49. And Manny with his 8 divisions. Mr. 8 division, that won't be broken. Manny Pacquiao stands alone in the boxing world, holding the remarkable distinction of being the only fighter to claim a major world title in 8 different weight classes. Amanda got 7. His extraordinary journey began as a flyweight and it continued to ascend through the weight divisions, accumulating titles in super bantamweight, featherweight, super featherweight, lightweight, junior welterweight, welterweight, junior middleweight. He could have had 10 because he skipped 2. I don't think he fought at bantamweight and he didn't fight at he started at flyweight, right? He started at flyweight. He skipped bantamweight. Flyweight, super bantamweight, featherweight, super featherweight, lightweight, junior welterweight, welterweight, and junior middleweight. There's another one he skipped too. I don't know the other one. Oh, yeah. Junior bantamweight and bantamweight. He didn't fight at 115 and 118. So, he could have had 10. Yeah, Manny got 8. He skipped 2. He went from flyweight all the way up to 112, all the way to 122. Okay. And he also is the oldest welterweight champion to win a title at 40 when he beat Keith Thurman. Okay. Another record. Vic Tao-Wheel. Most knockouts in a world title fight. Okay, anybody want to guess how many? He knocked his opponent down in a world title fight 14 Mickey Fricky times. What's up, BBO? Yeah. I would like to get up there with Sister Duran. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was quite a show though, BBO. Yeah. Great work over there. Yeah, this guy, Vic Tao-Wheel, most knockdowns in a title fight. He knocked his opponent down 14 times. Okay. Yep. 1950. Danny O'Sullivan, 14 times. And this record is highly unlikely to be broken in the modern era of boxing. Okay. But I'm not going to say it would never be broken, but probably unlikely to be broken. Let's put it that way, because any record can be broken, you know. Okay, number 6. Muhammad Ali is the 3-time lineal heavyweight champion. Holyfield has won it 4 times, I think, but he hadn't been lineal. Each time Ali won it, he beat the man that beat the man. And when he beat Spinks, He was in the line twice. Because when he beat Spinks, Spinks had beat the man, which was Ali, remember? Because you got to beat the man to beat the man to be linear. You got to be the champion to beat another champion. And the other champion Spinks beat before Ali beat him was Ali. So he was in the line twice, right? But he's a only three-time linear heavyweight champion, Ali. Okay? And that's something. He beat the man that beat him to become linear again. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, but yeah, the next record is Billy Bird, most knockouts in the night. This won't be broken, or second place, or third place, or fourth place, because the top 10 knockouts is all over 100. Billy Bird got 139. Archie Moore is second with 132. Yeah, this will never be broken. Nobody will even fight that many times again. So that's safe. His record is safe. That one wasn't made to be broken. Mm-mm. And number 2 either, Archie Moore. Homicide Hank. Titles in 3D written simultaneously. Okay, and then we got 3 more. Lynn Wickwar. Yeah, this one. This ain't gonna be broke neither. The most verified professional fights and the most wins. We talked about this a few weeks ago. He's got 470 fights, and he got 342 wins, both records. That ain't gonna be broke. The man fought 470 times. Your Mike says it'll never happen again. No way, Mike. And this one, Moniza, he got 470 fights, and he won 342. 86 losses, 43 draws. Wow. Yeah, that's safe. Damn. What was he fighting? Like every hour? Not twice a day, like every hour. Wow, 470 fights, man. Okay, 2 more. Joe Gans. Oh yeah, this was the longest title fight. There's been longer fights, but this was the longest title fight. 42 rounds. And then Battling Nelson got disqualified on purpose in the 42nd round. But guess what? Remember, I told you all about this. Joe Gans broke his arm in the 34th round and fought the last 8 rounds with a broken arm and still won. Longest title fight, 42 rounds. Yeah. That will never be broken because fights is 15 rounds now. Back then they were unlimited, right? So somebody couldn't go no more, whatever. And then Battling Nelson got disqualified on purpose in the 42nd round. But Joe Gans fought the last 8 rounds with a broken arm, man. Crazy. Them guys were just built different back then. And finally, final record is Tony Canzonieri. Shortest reign as a heavyweight champion. How short was it? Thing won't move. Tune in next week to see how short it was. No, I'm just kidding. How short was it? 33 days. His reign was 33 days at lightweight, junior welterweight, right? He had no business fighting again that fast. He won it, and then 33 days later, he lost it, right? He lost it to Barney Ross by majority decision, okay? After he had won it. Didn't say who he won it from, but he lost it. Oh, he won it from Barney Ross, and then they fought again 33 days, a month later, and lost it. Wow. Same man. So that's got to be the record for getting your title back, too, right? Because he lost it to Barney Ross, then he won it from Barney Ross, then he lost it to him 33 days later, which is the shortest title reign. And so Barney Ross got to have a record for the fastest time getting your title back, right? Because he lost it, then he got it back 33 days later. So that's 2 records. The shortest title reign and the fastest time getting your title back. Got to be. That won't be broken because nobody's going to be fighting that fast again. You know, that's crazy. Wow. 33 days later, they fighting again. But that ain't nothing. Because remember Sugar Ray and Jake LaMotta? Second fight and third fight were just 3 weeks apart. The second fight was February 5th, 1943. And the third fight was February 24th, 1943. And guess what? The second and third fight was 3 weeks apart. And Sugar Ray Robinson fought somebody else in between the second and third fight. Right? So he fought like the 5th, fought somebody else, and then he fought Jake on the 24th. And guess what else? After Jake fought Sugar Ray twice in 3 weeks, Jake fought somebody else 2 weeks after that. Them guys were just built different back then, man. So wow, that's crazy. That's got to be some kind of record too. No, Barney Ross and Tony Canzoneri got that the quickest turnaround. No, because Jake and Sugar Ray fought each other in 3 weeks. So they got the record for that. Quickest rematch, right? Unbelievable though. Sugar Ray and Jake fought twice in 3 weeks, and Sugar Ray fought somebody else in between the two fights. And then Jake fought somebody else 2 weeks after the two fights. Wow. That's amazing. Those guys, man. But you know, they wasn't making those millions and millions of dollars, so you know, they had to fight like that to make money from it. You know, a lot of them had other jobs and stuff. So yeah, that's why they fought so much. It's a good thing the fighters making the money where they don't have to put their health at risk like that as much anymore, you know. But yeah, I was thinking the other day, like Prime Ali and Prime Joe Louis in the same era. Could you imagine a pay-per-view if Prime Ali and Prime Joe Louis fought right now? What would it be like? 10,000 pay-per-view buys or something? Can you imagine a pay-per-view on it? Probably cost like $300. Prime Ali and Prime Joe Louis fighting in their prime in 2026 right now. Can you imagine the pay-per-view buys on that thing and what it would cost? And their purses in 2026, them two in their primes fighting each other in 2026. Wow, that would be astronomical. Man, can't even imagine it. But we got Just Do Boxing coming up next. I would say like 10,000 pay-per-view buys, and each one of them get paid $300 million. Ali and Joe Louis in their primes fighting now. What these fighters making? None of them even near the talent level of those two. Anytime Fury and Usyk and Fury and Wilder make what they make, imagine Ali and Joe Louis fighting each other right now, what they would make. Everybody in the world would be tuned in. Casuals, everybody to that. But okay, today we had BVO Sports TV, Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Mike Mazik, Technique, Crush the Legend, Mike Rim, Thomas Hill, Ryan from the 61Y, Just Do Boxing, and Miss Cass. Appreciate everybody. 1,000,000%. We got Brian Castano Friday, but we'll be back tomorrow. First, with another one. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Let's do boxing up next. This is Passport the Boxtorian. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great afternoon.